friends, and a very warm welcome to the next episode of cruX. Uh, this is not just any other episode. As you are aware, we have had an opportunity of interacting with several business owners, with private equity operating partners, with CEOs, with CXOs. This is probably the first time that we are having a professor and a Harvard professor, no less, in our midst for the cruX episode. What gives me a lot of joy, pleasure, and a lot of privilege is that we are going to be interacting with Professor V.G. Narayanan, who teaches me at Harvard. So very warm welcome to you, sir, on this episode of cruX.
Very, very nice to be here.
Thank you. So for those of you who do not know V.G. Narayanan, or V.G. as he called, is an accomplished scholar. He's a chartered accountant. He has done his IM from, he's done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He's an MA in economics from Stanford. He has done his MS in statistics also from Stanford. And if this was not enough to give most of us an inferiority complex, he decided to go ahead and do his doctorate in accounting also from Stanford. Vijay obviously is a prolific author. He's written a bunch of books and case studies. He sits on the boards of multiple companies. He's currently the Thomas J. Cassidy Professor of Business Administration at Harvard, where he teaches the MBA students. He teaches in the doctoral program, and I think he teaches the most difficult bunch of kids, if you like, in the executive education program of Harvard, which is both the AMP as well as the notorious batch that I am in, which is the Owner President Manager course, or the OPM. It's a pleasure and honor to kind of talk to somebody who has kind of donned various hats. But the one thing that I probably want to kick off as a first question to you, VG, there is VG the public persona, there's VG the teacher, the guru, the student, and you've got several accomplishments in those lines. Tell us a little bit about the VG that is not in public domain. Tell us about the VG that the world does not know.
Beyond my work, academics, teaching that I'm very passionate about, the joys in my life are gardening. I love flowers, I love plants, shrubs, so we have a good garden in our place, and it's I take pride in the fact that I've been involved in growing many of these plants, and every year now around April is when we start them indoors in the winter and bring out the plants now so that they can go into the garden and we plant them. So that is a source of joy for me. Very close to my friends right from kindergarten. I stay in touch almost every day.
Wow.
I talk to my buddies, and whether it's kindergarten, high school, college, doctoral program, life has blessed me with a lot of very good friends, and modern technology allows me to stay in touch with them every day. So these are very meaningful and deep connections for me.
Well, lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Vijay. If you look back at your career, last maybe 30 years you have been teaching now at Harvard, and even prior to that, how would you describe your journey from Chennai to Boston?
So, people come to me and say, like, what career advice do you have and all this. I reflect on my life and I think, like, that's all BS. There's so much that happens by sheer chance and luck that you're taking yourself way too seriously if you think you're planning your career. All you can try to do is put yourself in the company of good, smart people in good organizations, and let life take you wherever it takes you. So I'll be lying if I said I planned this, I planned that, and this is how it happened. I have a lot of freak accidents conspired to bring me where I am. Could have been very different, and that would also been equally enjoyable and equally good. But this is what the cards that life dealt with me, and here I am. That's it.
And if you were to pick one lucky incident that proved to be pivotal in your life, what would that be?
There's so many. I just can't tell you, but I'll tell you the probably the most. You decide whether it was lucky or not lucky. I was recounting this yesterday to someone. So I was in IIM Ahmedabad doing my postgraduate diploma in management, and my dream job was to join the Tata Administrative Service. And I applied, and they called, let's say, I was one of the top rank holders, and they called the first 11 rank holders except me for an interview. Why did they skip me? Okay, they didn't like my resume, whatever, they didn't call me, so that's fine. And then one night I'm having dinner in the mess. My buddy from the dorm comes running in and he says, VG, you got a phone call back in the dorm. There were only 3 phones for 20 dorms. You have to come back and take the call. I'm like, don't pull my leg. It was a sore spot for me. He knew this. Said, no, I know I've made fun of you for a year, but please come back and take the call. So I go back, and true enough, it was Tata Administrative Service calling me and saying like, why didn't please come for the interview? I'm like, sure, I'm happy to come. They're like, why didn't you apply? I did apply, you didn't call me. They said, come on over anyway. So I go there, first round, second round, third round, fourth round, group discussion everywhere, and the final round, and then they say me like, everything is great, but tell us, why didn't you apply? I'm like, I did apply, but I didn't get the interview from you. They said, where was your summer internship? I said, Unilever, I had a good internship. Are they going to make you an offer? Which it looked like they were. So I said, yeah, probably. They said, I think I got the answer to my question, and I never got the offer, which is fine. And then a month later, the mail comes to me, my application for TAS, it says not enough postage. So I'm so upset. I take it to the post office. The person who wrote with his own handwriting and a pencil, 65 paisa stamp. I told him, boss, this is your handwriting. He puts it on the scale in front of him and says, boss, galti ho gaya.
Oh my God.
So, my bad luck, my good luck, you'll never know. I could have, maybe I can dream now that one day I might have ended up in TAS if I had gotten the application in on time, right? Could have ended up differently. Okay. Or maybe not. Maybe I would have still never made it. We never know. But that's what I mean by lots of lucky turn of events here and there that you end up where you end up. So you can't script this, you can't plan this, it happens.
So having done so much, Vijay, and I'm a great fan of people who display traits of longevity, right? I mean, let's look at somebody like a Serena Williams or a Djokovic or say a Sachin in sport, for example. 30 years at Harvard and is still going strong. So, what is it that makes you get up in the morning and say, wow, I got to go to Harvard to teach? What is the biggest source of joy for you?
So I tell my students, and I have to pinch myself very often, like how did I get this job? Because every day in the classroom is the pinnacle of my happiness. It's like something that I love to do, be in front of students. I just love this job, and I like the campus, I love my colleagues, I love the students, and it's a very interactive, as you're aware, very interactive process. It's not like stand in front of someone and just lecture at them. It's facilitating a discussion, and so if you enjoy talking to people, you enjoy your job, and every day you're learning something. And so as long as you keep your curiosity that you're born with as a child, you have a great time. And
it's quite amazing that when you're kind of explaining what gives you joy, you're kind of emphasizing more on the learning aspect of it than a teaching aspect of it, right? So where do your learnings come from?
So it's see, you can't be a good teacher in my assessment without a lot of empathy and without a lot of curiosity. When people read, they all read the same cases and they come to class, but they all have different perspectives. So you want to know, why are you saying it? And every time someone has thought about it, they've thought about it in a different angle. So just when you feel like, okay, I've heard this multiple times, I've taught this case 100 times, the 101st time someone says something completely different and you're like, wow, where was this hiding?
Still a new facet, a new perspective.
Every time there is something enriching about it, because people are so different, and therefore the way they come at things, the way they analyze it. So if you feel you're hearing the same things, you're jaded, that's probably the time to stop teaching. As long as there is joy, if you're curious, there's many things to be learned. And if you're not learning, then The students are learning because you're questioning and you're sort of facilitating the process, but you're maybe the first among equals at best. They're learning from each other. You're just analyzing, asking questions. It's sort of the Socratic method to keep asking questions till either you reach the logical or illogical conclusion.
Got it. No, great. Thank you, Vijay. Shifting tack a little bit, which a lot of our audience are owner managers of mid-sized corporates, and we define that as say revenue sizes from say 200 million to maybe a couple of $1 billion, right? And this is not to be overly critical of any owner manager, but a common trend that we see is accounting is often seen as something that the auditor should be worried about. Controls as being done more from a compliance standpoint, and management reports are usually stuff that are getting generated nobody really reads, right? And a lot of your work is right at the intersection of this. So typically when you advise or when you interact with owner managers, what would you tell them as to what is the right way to be looking at this? Is this a bureaucratic burden that most people see as being imposed on the business, or can this be a true enabler of value creation?
You know, I'm very fond of saying faster the car, better the brakes need to be. And I feel like accounting and control systems more broadly both allow the car to go faster, but are also available to hit the brakes if something dangerous happens. And they're two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Now let's focus on the fast engines, right? If you had right information with the right people at the right time, they take better informed decisions. And if you have the right targets, you're motivating people, the organization succeeds and people succeed there as well. Incentives, people get innovative, but then cooking the books or shipping bad quality products is also innovation. Not the kind of innovation you want, but it's innovation nonetheless.
Sure.
So you need to have checks and balances in place. You need to talk about your beliefs and values. You need to talk about boundaries. You need to have internal controls in place. So that allows for people to swing for the fences, go maximize their personal wealth or success or achievement, and at the same time allow the organization to do well as well, but within constraints imposed by these internal controls, values and belief statements and boundary systems. We are currently living through this whole set of opportunities that Gen AI has brought for us. So what's happening in the marketplace? What are the opportunities and threats? What's changing in technology, customer preferences, employee skill set, competition, regulatory environment? The control systems is what allows you to take advantage of these and avoid the pitfalls. So that's what makes for a very successful business. So control systems are like very, they add value, but they also prevent you from destroying value, right? Can you go overboard? Absolutely. That's probably the definition of very bureaucratic organizations, that the controls take a life of their own, and the connection to, they were born in the first place to create value. You can have cars with brakes but very low power engines, and that would be a problem as well.
Right. Got it. One of the things is we have a ton of examples where because of bad controls or lack of good quality reporting or accounting systems, companies have gone down the drain. But are you able to give us an example of a company that has actually done well or has actually got a valuation upside, for instance, because they had the right controls and systems? Or is this is a corollary, or is this something that if you don't have it and things go wrong, it gets called out, but its role in success is probably not called out as much?
No, I think there are a lot of organizations that have put in good measurement systems and reap the benefits of it. And you talk about one tool that we discuss quite a bit at the Harvard Business School is the balanced scorecard, right? A typical problem in many organizations is that they say managers are very short-term in their focus and they're not managing quarter to quarter, not thinking to long-term. So how do we solve this problem? One way to solve this is to say, what are the leading indicators of financial performance? And very often we talk about the customers are happy today, your employees will be, if the employees are happy today, the customers will be happy tomorrow. If the customers are happy tomorrow, your shareholders will be happy the day after. So you want to start tracking customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, Are they feeling they have the right information, they have the right training, and then if that's all good, it should show up in your internal processes. You should be good at new product development or manufacturing or whatever your internal processes are. And if you're good at those processes, then your customers should see the value proposition, your differentiation from your competitors. So the net promoter score should be high, the attrition should be low, the lifetime value should be high. And if all these things fall in place, yeah, absolutely, the shareholder returns will be there automatically. But this cause and effect relationship, starting with sort of your investment in your employees, translating into employee satisfaction, into customer satisfaction, into financial performance, you can track it, you can measure it, and you can, there's a bunch of hypotheses. What if your employees are very happy, but your customers are not? What if your customers are very happy, but the shareholders are not? You know, this is all hypothesis. So somewhere, at a mini level, some of these hypotheses are broken, or they're wrong, or they're not delivering the full potential to the extent that you thought. So you have to fix those. So those are the cause and effect relationship. A causes B causes C. Somewhere there's a slippage, and there is a break in your theory of value creation that you have to go and fix. Maybe it's a wrong metrics. Maybe the customers will look for something else, so you have to go change. So even to know what new data to collect, it helps to have a theory of value creation that you can validate. So many, hundreds, thousands of organizations have implemented balanced scorecards with this theory, implicit theory in the back of their minds, used it to collect data, test it, and tasted a lot of success with it. So I've seen this time and again. That is just one example. There are some organizations that I'm personally involved in where they're put in the systems, and I would say we are able to compete very well because we are competing on information and reports and things. That's our secret sauce.
Got it. So just taking data-driven decisions rather than going by
Yeah,
the gut call
the
itself,
gut,
you're saying is a differentiator.
it is a differentiator because not everyone does this, and maybe it's their style of management that it's very led by gut feeling, but it is a very disciplined approach that you can take. You can put in good systems in place and reap the benefits of it. So there are some organizations that do it. I may gravitate towards those organizations, or because they may have me on their boards, they feel the pressure to install this. I don't know which way the causality goes, but I can vouch that they are very effective.
Got it. But I think most owner managers, we intuitively, don't necessarily see this as their role. I think most people that we work with are very focused on driving sales, for example, or maybe customer relations. Some people, exceptions, would probably kind of look at, say, building culture in their organizations as a prime responsibility. So where does the buck really stop? I mean, is this something that an owner should actually be worrying about, or is this something for the CFO or someone else to be able to do?
You know, I think let's start with the CFO, and I'll tell you my theory of what a good CFO is, and then we'll come to owners in just a second. I think the job of the CFO is to make the whole organization numerically literate. Because their job is to make sure that everyone else is making good quantitative, well-reasoned decisions based on good data. A CFO that says, come to me so that I have all the information, I have all the power, I'll make the approvals, I make decisions, not a good CFO. A good CFO takes joy in everyone else in the organization being able to make those decisions themselves because the data is widely dispersed, they are not controlling it. Now, what makes for a good owner? A good owner, very often they are creative, right? So they own the customer relationship, or they can do the business development. It varies depends on the industry. In some industries, they came up with the technology themselves, or in other industries, they own the customer relationship. So they add value that way. Usually, it's not because they're the numbers person. You know, the numbers person is a service function. In an ideal world, everyone has this information. The job of a good CEO is to find a good CFO who then they keep the pressure on them to say, don't succeed by concentrating information and power in the CFO's office.
Right.
A good CEO insists and trains their CFO by saying, disperse all this.
Let's democratize the data.
Democratize access.
Right,
make sure that you're not, You don't want a situation where people say, no, that's confidential, this is confidential. We don't want our employees to see how much money they are making. That's a very short-sighted approach. First of all, they have priors. The more confidential something is in an organization, more widely it gets known. So you might as well trust your own employees, share information, and go for literacy and numeracy on your basic economic modeling. And so it's a joint job of the CEO and CFO to make sure this happens.
Got it. And this would be your advice even if it's a privately held company?
Yeah, particularly when it's a privately held company, because you don't have the data coming out to, at least the public company, by regulatory obligation you have to publish something and your employees will see that. That's a minimum data that becomes available to employees. In a private company, you have to take extra efforts to make sure that you're sharing information more widely.
Got it. But is this very commonplace? I would imagine that most owner managers, again, intuitively would not want to share the data.
You see, most owner managers get only to a certain size.
Right.
There's a reason why they don't get bigger, right? And if you want to scale, you can't do it alone. If you want to scale, you can't keep your strategy a secret. You have to widely communicate. People have to understand your model of value creation, and nothing gets managed if it's not measured. So if you want things to be managed, measured, it also has to be communicated. So the reason why people stop growing at certain stage is that there are limits to this kind of informal growth where you don't rely on systems.
Right.
If you want to get past that, you have to
institutionalize. I mean, there's no option.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. One of the aspects of institutionalization, which is about how do we attract and hold on to really good quality professional teams, right, that can work in close collaboration with owner managers, yet retain a sense of independence and say, look, my loyalty is to the organization and not necessarily to the owner. And I know you've done a ton of work on incentive systems, so would you like to enumerate the top 2 or 3 principles that go behind designing a good quality incentive system that will allow owner managers to attract and hold on to good quality professional talent?
Sure, we talked about the leading and lagging indicators of performance. So I think it's very important to identify those, and they're very unique to your strategy. If your strategy is different, the way you add value to your customers and the way you differentiate yourself from competition is different, which every organization should find a way to differentiate itself, then your metrics have to reflect that, and they have to be different, and they have to capture your strategy, what makes me unique, right? Once you identify that, you need to link the performance evaluation, whether it's a bonus or whether it's a promotion decision or whatever it is, to those. That's the heart of the incentives process. But you also need to set the values and beliefs and the boundaries to it. So all these are part of creating this kind of incentive system and control. So I think of it as very expansive. Some people think of controls as just internal controls. For me, all of this is part of control system.
Got it. Okay. Also coming to the point on controls and how owner managers think about it, right? I mean, every owner manager dreams of a day where he is no longer needed in the office. The company is working on autopilot. People are taking decisions. The organization is kind of working fine. It's kind of churning out a bunch of cash. But the actions they take on the ground are something completely different, right? They want to kind of stay involved. They want to micromanage. They want to take all decisions themselves, right? So how does one kind of explain this dichotomy almost, right? That I seem to be doing something, but I'm doing exactly the opposite on the ground. And I know maybe this is a question on behaviors, not so much on incentive systems. But what really explains this psyche?
I've certainly noticed this. I've written a number of cases on this, particularly in the context of owner-president managers that I've met with, counsel over the years, transition from one generation to another. They see the founder, the previous generation, they can't let go. They want to make themselves sort of indispensable, and that's where they get their self-worth from. So I think that's it, right? So many owners have tasted success. They're they're very proud of their success, but their whole identity rests on this success.
Right.
And for them to see that they can rely on systems means that this success can be replicated by others in their absence in a way that they don't publicly acknowledge, means that they're no longer absolutely necessary or indispensable. And that is hard for people to accept. So they would like to be the person riding the white horse and coming there and rescuing the business, whether it needs such rescue or not. Right? So
Sure.
that giving up is very hard for people to do. So they overstay their welcome. So I think we have to educate people about this phenomena. It happens to everyone. So for them to be able to recognize it and transition at the right times to the next generation or to systems, so that you're not that reliant on people. It's easier to learn from other people.
And your point was also that one of the reasons why most owner managers are not able to scale is because they're not able to kind of get over this own fear or the fear of letting go in their own minds.
I don't know whether it's fear of letting go or not wanting to let go because it will expose that the business can do perfectly fine without them. Right? It's maybe unstated, but
Right.
I do worry that my favorite story is of this person that I was helping. His father was the founder of the business. Father said, "I'm retiring." The son is taken over, nominated him as the president. But every morning, 10 o'clock, the father would call. And he would not talk to his son, but he would talk to the head of sales, he would talk to the head of production, he would talk to the head of quality control, all of them. And every Friday, he would have a dinner with his son, and he would say, "I was talking to this person in procurement, they said you have this problem, I was talking to so-and-so this, I heard this customer didn't give the order this year." He's like, he lives for me to have problems so that he can come and rescue me. And my senior people know this, so they are constantly feeding him all the problems that imagined and real. So this can have this negative cycle. Others exploit your inability to let go.
Got it. Okay. In terms of the metrics that founders should be kind of focused on, VG, right? I know this could depend on what kind of business and stage of growth, scale, but are there one or two or three things that they should be looking at on a very regular basis across situations?
Industries? Yeah, look, the employee satisfaction, customer net promoter score are absolutely must in any industry. Right? And if you do this, of course, you want to look at your financials, like some measure of return divided by some measure of capital that you've employed, economic value added, return on invested capital. Different people have different measures that they use, but some notion of return divided by capital invested would be important. So beyond that, it comes down to your strategy. Am I using my assets very intensively the way I'm planned? Are my margins commensurate with the value that I'm creating, that I'm able to capture it from my customers? Again, those are pretty common measures that you would want to use.
Got it. The other common trend that we are seeing is that even without the AI kind of coming into vogue, there's now a ton of data that is now available within organizations. I'm not even going to how external data can be kind of incorporated into reports, etc. But just the sheer volume of internal data. Very often we see owner managers and even the CXO suite coming up with designs of multiple reports. Those reports do get generated, but there's nobody really to kind of even look at it. Right. So how does an owner manager really think about this? A lot of times the question is, tell me what is it that I should be looking at, and what is it that my team should be looking at, right? So sometimes too much of a good thing is also a problem. So how does one deal with that?
Look, even if you create all the reports, reading the reports, digesting it, thinking through it is always a voluntary activity. You can't force people to do something. Right? It has to come from within. My perspective is that the people who use certain reports should be the ones designing and maintaining those reports. It shouldn't come from the CFO's office. It shouldn't come from the CTO's office. It should be organic. It should be relevant for the decisions that people are asked to make, and they should find the need for it. And they then take the responsibility for the upkeep of those reports or modifying the reports. That's a very different view than let me ask the CFO to distribute customer profitability information. It's sometimes you can give it away too easily, and then you're not sure people will use it. So
got it. So it's got to kind of come from the user themselves.
From the user, and they have to own it.
Yeah,
because
noting one question, which I'm sorry to kind of take you back to the incentive structures. Right? Again, one of the common challenges, or I would say dilemmas, that a lot of owner managers have, particularly mid-sized companies, is when you have designed the incentive system based on certain principles. Now, once you have applied it, you have a set of outcomes. and then you may discover that someone who is absolutely critical to your business or someone whom you absolutely have to retain for whatever reason, right, does not end up getting an incentive or is not eligible for a ESOP or whatever, right? And then of course there's a cycle of the person feeling bad about it, they get disgruntled, and then there is no alternative, let me do something. And the moment you do that, you ended up compromising on the principle. So what is the right way? There is an expediency, I need to do some things to protect the organization in the short term, but every time I make a compromise, I'm kind of diluting the principles that are right for the company in the long term. So how does one think about
So,
this?
you put in an incentive system, you have to stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
At least for this year. Next
Right.
year you can make changes prospectively, but you can't retroactively all the time keep making changes.
Right.
So the system needs to have integrity, otherwise no one will take it seriously. But you will make mistakes.
Okay, so you're really advocating taking the correct route could be the tougher route in the short term, but you also seem to be saying, look, it's not as if outside of money there are no other options available to you to be able to kind of hold on to the
Or
individual.
even the money might come later,
Right.
but the integrity needs to come first.
Right.
Whereas if you try to brush it and not take ownership for it, that's when you end up hurting feelings and people are like, I can't work for this person.
Got it. Okay. One of the things we keep getting asked a lot, especially in the last 2 quarters, which is on the entire AI phenomenon, right? From your vantage point of having dealt with different types of businesses at different scale, where do you think this is headed, both from a customer acquisition and a customer experience standpoint, and also on the supply side in terms of what kind of talent companies will need to have to deal in an AI world?
So I would say right now, where is the bulk of use of AI? Certainly in IT departments, when people are doing coding, they're probably getting a 30-50% boost in productivity using AI for coding. Like in Claude Code, or before that Cursor and Cognition Labs, and all of these guys are helping people write code more efficiently. One person can do the output of 1.5 people. So that's early application. We're also anticipate that it can be used and will be used in a variety of other functions, but they probably are not as advanced. There's a lot of promise from agentic AI, and so people are experimenting around the edges to say, how do we do it? And it's remarkable what it can do. So I feel very powerful. I feel like I've never been able to produce this much with this high quality. And I have very high expectation, at least with my students, and I expect them to do it, and they are able to deliver. It's going to create many, many more jobs. So I think it's going to create a ton of entrepreneurs, that each person is going to solve one unique niche problem. How this all shakes out, and it'll take a while. It might take 20-30 years for everyone to gain full employment again. Right. It might take a long transition. It's like a new technology, it suddenly comes in and you don't need as many people.
So my question, which is, you talked about the impact on jobs and also potentially the growth of a new entrepreneurial ecosystem. But what about some of us with existing businesses? I mean, what is going to be the impact on wealth creation? Is this going to destroy wealth for us, or is this going to enhance the wealth creation?
Those who embrace it are going to get more effective, or at a minimum running hard to stay where they are. But those who are going to somehow pretend this will go away or this won't affect them will go the way of like some dodos or dinosaurs.
So there's no option. You're saying, I mean, you can't really take
You can't stop this. You can't stop this, and it's coming for everyone.
Right.
And whether you use it or not, you use it or you get killed by it if you don't use it.
Right.
That's your choice. And so I think I see most businesses embracing it, whether they do it voluntarily or not, because personally I feel like I can create an avatar of myself that can do a much better job teaching in the classroom than I can.
Right.
And if you're honest about it, I feel every knowledge worker acknowledges that. If you're a doctor, you better acknowledge that AI plus all these diagnostic results will do at least as good a job, maybe a better job than you can. It's very difficult to acknowledge. We always cling on to, but it doesn't have the human touch, it doesn't have this
feel. If you're not able to pick up some nuance
and the expert. odds are against it. Odds are that it's relentless, it doesn't make mistakes, it doesn't get tired, and it's getting better and better while you're not getting better.
And it doesn't forget anything.
It doesn't forget. So this is not looking good for human beings. This is looking better for people who embrace it, and at the margin they can bring the creativity, at the margin they can bring the empathy, at the margin they can bring the human in the loop into this.
Right. Owner managers should not really be waiting for the dust to settle and clarity to emerge before they decide to do something. You're saying, look, get involved, get your hands dirty.
Get involved, see what others are doing. You'll get inspired by what others are doing, and you'll reinterpret it for your business, because you understand your business much better
than anybody else, right? So start somewhere is what you're really
Start
saying.
yesterday.
Start yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. So thanks for this, Vijay. So I think this coming to the last one or two questions, right? And again, kind of moving on to what are your own plans, and so much of work, so many accomplishments. What is unfinished business for you now?
So we at HBS we've launched something called HBS.ai, and I've always looked at this when people come to business school, either for executive education or MBA, they study for 6 weeks or 2 years, whatever, and then they go back into the real world, never to ever come back again. If you're somebody who came to Earth from Mars and you thought about business education, where people come and study for 2 years but never come back, you'd be like, that seems very inefficient.
Right.
Technology changes all the time, business practices change all the time. Where is this lifelong learning? It's not happening. I think one partial answer to that is they learn how to learn when they're in school, not just learning, but learning how to learn, and therefore the learning how to learn sustains them for the rest of their life. To a point, I can see the value there. I think what needs to happen is that we need to take learning to just in time, when they're making decisions, when they have to do something for work, they should be able to learn at that point. Not ahead of time, not later, but right when you need it. And so at HBS we're building those tools. We have already built several avatars of faculty that can be your personal board of advisors.
Wow.
We have built sales coaches that will push back on you, pretend to be a very difficult customer, asking difficult questions, so that you get practice at home against a very tough customer, right? And so that when you go to the real customer,
almost
it
like a
feels
simulation.
walk in the park.
Right.
And you can give it whatever persona you want, and it will ask all these questions. And we're using a lot of this retrieval augmented generation technology to custom create courses that say, I'm a financial services executive, I have 8 years experience, and I want to do a course on digital marketing, and I have only 12 hours, so teach it to me in 12 hours. And we'll put it together in 12 hours and we'll teach it to you. And we'll do it to you using your documents that you uploaded, such that it can be done in the
So it's
context of
highly
work.
personalized,
Very
highly
personalized,
contextualized. Yes.
and at the right time and deliver. And you say, okay, I learned it, I know I have to cascade this to 20 other people who need to understand the same terms, etc. You'll create the lesson plans and do it to them also.
Got it.
So we are working on this. So we have to use our brand, we have to use our ability to curate content, we have the ability to sift and sort and say this is right, this is not right, and combine with our brand and this ability to do the curation. So we go lead with the reputation and say we have to be useful for people to solve their problems today. So we're up against competition with some very large, well-resourced companies.
And I'm just curious, just structurally, does this fall within HBS Online, or that's a different thing altogether?
So
that's something
we will take some content from HBS Online. We have like 1,000 hours of content. We have 35 courses on HBS Online where we have pre-recorded our faculty and used several cases and protagonist interviews and questions and problems and all of that. All of that is available for use in HBS.ai. We also in HBS Publishing have hundreds, thousands of articles. We have thousands of cases. All that is available. So we have a lot of digital content, and we will use all of our content. So that's unique about HBS. I don't think content is going to be a differentiator.
Right.
But used in this very hyper-personalized way and reimagined to learn while doing and to learn while in the flow of work.
Right. That
has
will probably
potential.
be yeah, it's got potential.
It's got potential. It's a hypothesis at this stage. I don't know if the customer will say that this or that competition, because they have access to better technology, may not leapfrog us. I don't have that guarantee, but this is the hypothesis that I got to try.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. Well, this looks very exciting. You've given us so many aha moments in your class. I mean, what is your aha moment, say, over the last 6 months, either in class or in AI or anything else?
You know, it just feels very different this time around. You know, it's not like I wake up every year and say the world is changing dramatically. You know, this feels maybe like I felt in 1998, 99 when the internet was upon us and e-commerce was really taking off and a lot of the dot-com companies were coming on. That was once in a life kind of, once in a generation kind of moment. You know, 25 years later, it feels like another
Like
such moment. Maybe this time even bigger, because that impacted, that combined with mobile telephony and internet, you know, gave us opportunities for 25 years and created huge market caps for these successful companies. This just feels like a order of magnitude bigger change, bigger potential, and bigger potential disruption, but also potential to add value. So I feel like we are upon very exciting times.
Exciting times. So it's not an aha moment, it's probably an aha phase to kind of...
Yeah, it's just like aha in the sense I wake up every day thinking like, I wonder what will happen today, because somebody is announcing something that says, oh, that is so last week, you know, it has completely change what you're doing.
Got it. Well, this has been fabulous, Vijay. Thank you so much for your time. Really looking forward to what's going to come next from your end. I think being with VG in class or outside is a phenomenal experience always. But the digital avatar of VG, certified by VG himself, which promises to be even better version. So I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. As always, friends, you know, there's so many nice takeaways. For me, the key moments from this podcast were really about VG's thirst for knowledge, right? I mean, people see him as a professor, as a teacher, but the way he sees himself is more as a student, and being a student is what makes him a great teacher. I think it's a phenomenal learning, especially coming from someone like him with his level of number of qualifications and the years of experience he's had at Harvard teaching the best. A lot of learnings about how owner managers should be thinking about controls, accounting, reporting, not so much as a bureaucratic and a boring tick in the box, but really more as an enabler that can help them to not only improve the business performance, but more importantly, institutionalize their businesses. I thought there were key learnings in how to design incentive structures. How does an entrepreneur attract and hold on to CM management while institutionalizing the business? How owner managers can sometimes be their worst enemies in terms of letting their companies grow. And the statistical data is that a lot of us have not been able to scale up just because we're not willing to kind of cede control. I think is something for all of us to kind of go back and introspect of whether we are actually guilty of doing that in their respective business. And lastly, and most important, I'm sure this is going to be an evolving situation, we had the benefit and the privilege of hearing VG's perspective on where the world is going to go with AI. I think to me, as owner managers, we're all worried about wealth creation, about preserving the value in our businesses. I think the message was loud and clear. Get your hands dirty, get started. Don't wait for a perfect day, a perfect solution to be in place. If you don't move fast enough, maybe your business will not exist. So on that note, thank you very much, Vijay, for your time, and the Pulse of Wisdom, as always, has been a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.